We didn't want this to be represented by conservatives or by liberals, because Atlas Shrugged, it flies in the face of both. Mark, you can talk about our conversation with Daily Wire if you want.
Yeah, so we had a conversation with Dallas Saunier of the Daily Wire about a year and a half, 2 years ago. I was in Pittsburgh when this happened. He read our script, liked it, but it's hard to tell. He's a nice guy and he's a producer. So, a lot of times they don't tell you exactly what's going on in their minds. I'd say most of the time they don't. Most people aren't honest in Hollywood, unfortunately. So he was very pleasant guy to talk to, but he was persistently sticking to a traditionalist line. His perspective was basically to copy the novel and make that into a limited series. Now I said this in much stronger terms in a letter that Jax read to me last night again, which I still stick by. It was an extremely intense letter to him after our meeting. I said that was a mistake. I said that this project has been in the works for upwards of 60 freaking years. It's been going for a long time. Rand couldn't do it. Peikoff couldn't do it. We know John couldn't do it when he did actually produce the 3 movies. They were probably the worst cinematic flops in history, and they were awful. I read sides from one of the movies, and it was so bad I wanted to shoot myself in the head. So it hasn't been done. It hasn't been done for a reason. And the reasons, I think, were solved by these 2 folks here. It's because it's too goddamn didactic. And nobody wants to be preached at. You want your philosophy to hit you through osmosis. You want a story first with a great narrative and great characters, and the philosophy hits you by osmosis. It's not talked at you. It's not rammed down your throat. There's nobody proselytizing in it. It's their actions. It's the things they do that make it happen predominantly. And so he was still bent, no matter how much I tried to tell him that was a mistake, on this traditionalist point of view. So after hanging up with him, I wrote him an extremely strong letter suggesting that not only was it a mistake, but he's falling into the trap that has made this an untouchable project for the last 50 years, made it impossible to produce. That he's not going to reach the wider audience that I think our script will reach. They've got a subscription audience of 1 million people, folks. That's it. And it's a captured audience, but that's all there is. We want this to reach 16, 17, 18 million people, millennials, Gen Zers, who are going to see this and respond to it in a way that they never could before reading her books. And that was a distinct possibility until Dallas.
As a comparison, like what were the numbers I gave last night? Disney Plus has
163 million.
163 million subscribers. So Jennifer and I actually had heavily considered, well, would we really want to work with the Daily Wire? And one of our reasons we certainly talked to Dallas. We were open to everything. But you can correct me if I'm misspeaking for us, Jennifer, but we didn't want this to be behind a paywall. We didn't want this to be represented by conservatives or by liberals, because it's Atlas Shrugged. It flies in the face of both. And that's what needed to represent this piece of work.
Oh yeah, I forgot to say this. When we went into this meeting, we all agreed that we did not want to go to the Daily Wire. We all said, we don't want this, but we want to win the meeting. So the only reason we actually had the meeting with Dallas in the first place, and if he's listening, good, I want him to hear this. We didn't care if they said yes or no. What we wanted them was to say yes, so we could say no. But for me, I just wanted to practice at pitching. I had no intention of actually going to the Daily Wire. Their audience is too small. They don't understand objectivism. In fact, their ethics are reviled by pretty much everybody there. So I don't know how they're going to deal with capitalism without, also dealing with the attendant ethics that go along with it. They can't.
Is that your Ben Shapiro voice?
Yeah, that was Ben.
That's pretty good, Ben.
Thank you. I don't see,
Capitalism.
I don't see how they're going to deal with capitalism without dealing with the ethics, because Rand was original in linking the two together. And the Republicans don't like that. It makes them very uncomfortable. They don't know how to deal with it. So I foresee a big fat frickin' flop. Now I could be wrong, but I haven't been so far with respect to these folks. So the main thing was that pisses me off personally was that I felt that we had a 2-year relationship with John. John owed us an explanation. Whenever they're gonna kill you off in a film or a TV show, they feel it is a ethical priority for them to sit you down and tell you what they're going to do, and then why they're going to do it and how much they appreciate you, because they understand that an actor sees his death on a series as a bad thing. Right? Maybe they don't like me. You don't know why these things are happening. So it's really nice for them to clarify. What would be nice for John was to sit down with us and say, here's the deal. I know you're in this holding pattern, but I need to see this thing up before I croak, and I'm pretty close to it. So I need to see this thing up. So I'm going to send, I'm getting the money from the Daily Wire with 1 million subscribers. I don't see how they are going to produce this on any level that it deserves to be produced at, because it is a big idea with has to have lots of capital behind it. Maybe they could do that. But he did not do this. We found out in the trades. I found out because it was texted to me by my agents and managers.
Yeah, that was the biggest disappointing part. Is objectivists, do we know how to treat each other? That's you don't treat each other like that you've been in business with for 2 years.
So for anybody out there who's in business with somebody, be straight up and honest with them all the time. Tell them what is going on. And if you're planning on making a move, don't hide it. Don't not say anything to them.
I can understand it's very appealing if the Daily Wire is coming at me and saying, I'm putting capital behind this. I'm putting money down on the table. We're going to do it. We have, XYZ. They don't have any creatives attached to it yet, which is going to be interesting to see what they can get in terms of A-listers. Because I know that a while back there was another effort and to get A-listers attached to it from the wrong people asking for it, and they got the door slammed in their face regularly.
Nobody in Hollywood is going to work for the Daily Wire.
Yeah, but I understand from John's perspective why he would take the deal. I just would have wanted the heads up prior, so that we could tell people about it and not be completely broadsided. But
I take that back. Nick Searcy would probably work for the Daily Wire, and he's a damn good actor. I love him a lot.
Nick Searcy's a great actor. He's a fantastic actor. The issue though, Mark, is, as you know, to get good A-listers, it's money. And that's a big part of the budget. That's one of the reasons why we had such a high budget for our series. I do want to correct. So I listened to the Daily Objective today with Rucka and James Valiant, two people who I love listening to them. They're awesome. James, if you're listening, you always have great, interesting things to say, and I want to be on a podcast with you. But James talked about, and these are some of the one of the super chats that people are at. Justin's asking about for $1.99. Will Daily Wire cut the sex scenes? And then there's other questions of how are they going to deal with all the sex and the atheism? Now, James thought that I think he was thinking that Daily Wire was turning this into movie. And so some of his commentary was about, you just can't do what the book did in the movie form. I do want to correct, at least on behalf of the Daily Wire, because I want to be fair to them, that they are planning a series. They are planning it's going to be a limited series. So, and that's what Jennifer and I planned as well, was effectively a 3-season limited series where.
Hey, do you think Dallas? You think Dallas got that idea from us?
Might have. I mean, we talked to him about it, and But I mean, I don't want to start throwing, legal stuff out there, because I think that John had always thought of it as a series as well. He always thought that, that he wanted to do a series. So I want to be fair. But it'll be interesting to see if they, because Dallas has read our script. So it'll be interesting to see if anything from our script shows up there. But yeah, so I just wanted to correct that. James, however, brought up a really, really great point in the Daily Objective, which I recommend everybody, if you haven't listened to it from today, go listen to it. He brought up a really great point about how Atlas Shrugged is it's a sexual and economic storytelling, and how is the Daily Wire going to handle that? Because if you don't, I mean, Ben Shapiro has even notably said that Dagny Taggart was like hopped from bed to bed. She's been with 3 men in her life, and that's hopping from bed to bed. How are they going to, and they were meaningful relationships, right?
They were
Did he
good
really
beds. They were
Did Ben
good
really
beds.
say that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
but
was
Ben is freaked out by sex. He's freaked out by his own desire for sex, and he feels like it's dark and he has to rein it in. So we see where that's coming from.
Yeah.
It's a very bad idea, but it hasn't stopped bad ideas from happening. And look, our culture and society and politics are filled with bad ideas, and they're at play in the world right now, and they have dominance, and people think they're good ideas, even though they're awful. So anyway, that's the story.
I almost on purpose now want to change parts of this, like if we ever do it, I want to change parts of the story and have Cheryl have an abortion. Well, look, I mean, Rand is atheist, she's pro-choice. How are they going to deal with that? Are they going to bring religion into it somehow? Are they going to bring, and there was, Ayn Rand did have in her original treatment of Atlas Shrugged, she had a religious character, Father Amadeus or something like that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, and she brought him in as a person who would have been converted to atheism effectively over all these years, but she couldn't make it work. She said ultimately she just couldn't see it. She couldn't see how that would ever happen. And how do you, I don't know how this conservative outlet is going to really represent Ayn Rand's ideas. Do you guys think that if Ayn Rand were approached by the Daily Wire, that she would have ever sold the rights to?
No, and I don't think that she would have, and I haven't heard a conservative yet render any interpretation of Ayn Rand very well, or at least in a way that I think any objectivist who knows anything about objectivism would agree with. So it's pretty clear they don't know what they're talking about. Not as bad as the left who critiques her, they know less, but it's still pretty bad. So look, I think we should still attack them, not attack them, but I think we should still fight for that project until we know we can't anymore. People who think she's a sociopath are going to be making this thing insane.